Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to explore the brilliant, absolutely fascinating opening chapters of the American story. You know, when we think about the history of the Americas, it's super easy to just picture the familiar milestones, right? The founding fathers, the pioneers, the massive industrial boom. But today, we're going to wind the clock back much, much further, long before any written records even existed. So I want to start off by posing this question to you. Where does the American story really begin? It's a great question because our history actually starts thousands of years before European ships ever crossed the Atlantic. The true first chapters of American ingenuity, that spirit of innovation we're so proud of, were written by the incredible people who first populated and built highly complex societies right across this hemisphere. To uncover that story, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the journey to the Americas, then look at the Olmec Foundation, followed by the Maya masterminds. After that, we're going to explore the mighty Aztec Empire, the vast Inca network, and finally bring it all together in America's first chapters.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Journey to the Americas.
Now, what's really interesting about how this all kicked off is that you have to imagine a world entirely different from the one we know today. Over 12,000 years ago, much of the globe was locked in ice. And because those massive glaciers held so much frozen water, global sea levels dropped dramatically. This actually exposed a natural land bridge connecting Siberia and Alaska. Many scientists believe the very first people entered North America by simply walking across this exposed land. But on the flip side, other scientists believe these early pioneers actually traveled by boat, navigating across the coastal waters to reach North America. Either way you look at it, these were just incredible, unbelievable feats of human endurance and exploration.
Once they arrived, a massive human shift took place. Initially, these early Americans were nomadic. They were focused purely on survival, constantly moving and following roaming herds of animals across this vast, untamed continent. But over 2,000 years ago, a total game changer happened. They discovered farming. And farming meant they didn't have to constantly move from place to place anymore. This agricultural revolution totally unlocked their ability to establish permanent villages, and those villages eventually grew into highly complex, organized societies with their own structured governments and religions.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Olmec Foundation.
To see one of the absolute earliest examples of these complex societies, we have to travel down to what is now Mexico. The Olmec were the earliest known civilization in the Americas, basically serving as the foundational bedrock for the entire region. Supported by a really robust network of farmers, they built actual bustling cities featuring organized governments, distinct social classes, and super rich religious traditions. They were the ultimate springboard for future civilizations. They set a cultural standard that would last for centuries, even though they left behind very few written records for us to study today. And this brilliantly illustrates a key point. A lack of written records absolutely does not mean a lack of brilliance. The Olmec were incredibly scientifically advanced. They were early astronomers. They carefully studied the stars and used that data to create a highly functional calendar, predict the seasons, and accurately measure time. This level of pure intellectual achievement deeply influenced literally all the civilizations that would follow them throughout the region. Which brings us to Section 3, the Maya masterminds.
Emerging over 2,000 years ago in southern Mexico and Central America, the Maya took civilization to astonishing new heights by building thriving, totally independent city-states. The sheer scope of their genius is just breathtaking. In architecture, they were engineering these massive, awe-inspiring temples, pyramids, and palaces. In communication, they developed a highly complex written language. And mathematics, get this, they were utilizing advanced math, including understanding and using the concept of zero, long before European contact. I mean, mapping out nothing mathematically is a huge leap. Plus, in astronomy, they weren't just gazing at the stars. They were making remarkable discoveries, actually mapping the skies well enough to predict solar and lunar eclipses. The Maya were, without a doubt, intellectual titans of the ancient world.
To give you a mental map of how these eras connect, over 2,000 years ago, early Americans discovered farming, just as the Maya civilization really began to build and expand. Jumping ahead to 900 CE, we see a mysterious turning point where many of the great Maya cities were abandoned. But, and this is a really important caveat, while the cities emptied out, the Maya people and their beautiful language definitely did not disappear. They are still very much alive today. Stretching further ahead on our timeline into the 1400s, we arrive at the massive Inca Empire.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 4, the mighty Aztec Empire.
Building directly on the cultural foundations laid in central Mexico after the decline of those great Maya cities, picture this.
an awe-inspiring capital city named Tenochtitlan. And it wasn't just built anywhere. It was a massive, bustling metropolis constructed directly on an island in the middle of a large lake. Seriously, a floating city. They connected it to the mainland using a complex system of causeways. From this incredibly defensible, brilliant feat of engineering, the Aztec expanded their influence across much of central Mexico, ultimately forging one of the absolute largest empires in the history of the Americas.
Heading further south now, Section 5, the vast Inca network.
Leaping ahead to the 1400s, we find the Inca establishing the single largest empire in South America. Governing an empire of this sheer scale was an unparalleled logistical challenge. They set up their capital at Cusco, and from there, a single emperor governed literally millions of people. And we're not talking about flat, easy terrain here. The Inca Empire spanned some of the most extreme environments on Earth: harsh, jagged mountain ranges, blazing deserts, and incredibly dense rainforests. Just unifying this territory was a monumental human achievement.
So how on earth did they do it? 10,000. Yep, 10,000. The Inca engineered an extensive, highly sophisticated road system stretching roughly 10,000 miles across all of those treacherous terrains. This sprawling network was the vital artery of the empire. It allowed for rapid communication, highly efficient trade, and the strict functioning of government across vast, almost impossible distances. Let's pull it all together in Section 6, America's First Chapters.
So the crucial point is this. When we stack up all these incredible historical threads, these thriving achievements completely shatter the old myth that the Americas were just a wild, empty frontier waiting to be discovered. Long before European exploration, the Americas were home to advanced agriculture, massive city engineering, complex governments, formal writing systems, and just breathtaking leaps in mathematics and astronomy. These were highly advanced, globally competitive societies.
I absolutely love this quote because it perfectly summarizes the reality. These achievements demonstrate the rich history and innovation of the peoples who lived throughout the Americas. American ingenuity, that famous spirit of progress, it isn't something that started just a couple hundred years ago. Innovation is an ancient, native tradition right here on this soil. The accomplishments of the Olmec, the Maya, the Aztec, and the Inca laid a rock-solid foundation for the incredibly diverse history of the Western Hemisphere. They are a vital, deeply proud part of the American story today.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. How does knowing that thousands of years of groundbreaking innovation happened right here change how you view the true American story? When we recognize that the roots of civilization, science, and engineering run incredibly deep in the soil of the Americas, it really changes everything about how we understand our past, and maybe, just maybe, how we see our future. Take a moment to really think about that, and keep exploring this amazing history. Thanks so much for joining me to dive into this topic today, and stay curious.